What's going on, guys? Kaiga here. The collaboration fairies have been in the game for about 2 weeks now. I want to run through PvP and PvE, what the changes to the tier list are. Let's get into it. Alright guys, they're posted on my Discord in the resources channel. Right here we have the PvP one. And starting up here at S, we still have Millum and Sakura up here. I have it set up Holy, Fire, Wind, Water, Earth. And I believe right now this is in order, in my opinion. Millum, best we have for PvP across all different types of PvP. Sakura, also very good, a little bit slower than Millum, but does have that defense down. Urza, after her multiple buffs, she definitely does deserve the S tier, especially when we talk about her passive giving you class damage to whatever class you put her on, and something like Top League is very, very powerful. For Fire, we have Hydra of Flames, who turns off dodge, fast ability, high damage. Then we have Winter Cherry, even though her whole flammability thing doesn't really do anything in PvP. Her main thing is that she can be used in PvP like Top League with her passive, which is a free rigidity, so you can go full offense on your will cores with still having some roughly, I think it's in the ballpark of a level 4 to level 5 rigidity just as a freebie. For Wind, all three of these are very, very good. We have Tranquil Balloon Flower, which the ability itself is okay. It does good damage. A little slow. Generally, you have to pair it up with something else, like Camellia or a regular Balloon Flower, to make it set up. But her main thing is going to be her passive, which gives you cooldown reduction when you swap to her, as well as giving you bonus stats from the Wind Echo. But that cooldown can do some really interesting things, such as if you're going damage build with Gladiator, you can do Wind and go Moonslash, and just really lock people up for a long, long time. Then we have Almond Blossom and Eldewise, which are 1A, 1B for behind Tranquil Bloom Flower. These two are about tied. Eldewise giving that crit immunity boost, and Almond Blossom giving that ignore the first CC coming your way, as well as their damages are obviously pretty high. Very, very good couple. Then we have Blue Rose, which gives you more damage when you're at high HP, gives you damage reduction when you're at lower HP. Her damage is also based on the person that you're attacking. As they get lower HP, she does more damage. Very, very good. Gardenia, high damage and also giving you that healing increase, and just all around her passive is very powerful in PvP. These two for Earth. Earth is in a very weird spot when it comes to PvP, as you'll see with our A tier being a Gen 1 fairy. So Tulip, her main thing is going to be her gamble aspect, where she puts it on a target, and then once the gamble ends, you get bonuses against them, which is a very interesting, cool thing in the game. It just takes a bit of a long time, but she's the best of the Earth that we have. Right behind her would be Foxglove, giving you that crit bonus and the punch, punch, punch. Just the damage alone, putting it up here. Down in here into the A tier, move this up a bit. Down here to the A tier, we have, as you see, Mistletoe went down from S. I at most want to have 3 of a type on a tier. That's why she got pushed down to A tier, because Urza took her spot. The AoE, if they try to dodge out of it, they get stunned. They can play around it by walking inside of it, but that's where you can team her up with something like Laurel or Licorice or Urza to rain down in that spot. So if they do decide not to dodge out of it or run out of it, then you can tear them up with a Mistletoe setup. She also heals with her damage. Then we have the nice couple right here of Butterfly Orchid and Hibiscus. Butterfly Orchid, I believe, is better because that shield ends up being way bigger than just a flat heal, especially with a lot of healing reduction going around right now with Dragon Knight and any of the canon or even some fairy stuff. So her shield is better than the healing, as well as if you get your second copy of her, you can get the level 2 ability, which stops them from moving a little bit slower than Milim, but is a very powerful thing, and is definitely better than the little bit of extra AoE damage, but that does put Hibiscus right under her. Then here into fire, Natsu is doing a lot of work right now in PvP. Even though his ability is a little slow, if you team him up with a fairy like Hydra of Flames, or use a skill that allows you to stun, stop them from moving, or pull them together, then Natsu is going to wreck people's faces. He had a really high drop rate in the summons, so people should have a pretty good Natsu if you did a bunch of summons. Just a very, very strong fairy. Not to mention we had, if you were a free-to-play or a very low spender and didn't want to go heavy onto Urza, they had an option to turn her stones into 2x green stones, which allowed me to bring... I got Urza up to 2 rainbow, and I had a couple extra stones of her, and I turned them into Natsu, which allowed me to bring him from 1 rainbow to 3 rainbow. He is now maxed on my account. Fire, we still have Anathria. She does high damage, execute damage, and anti-healing. She tracks a little bit, but if they start moving as soon as you click the button, there's a chance that you'll miss. Ideally, you want to wait until they're either stuck in a skill animation or they're doing their own ability. Then we have Dahlia. Dahlia is very, very strong. It's just very easy to play around her. A bunch of well, 1, 2, 3 classes have very easy things to get rid of it. You have Strength of Nature from, not Marksman, Windchaser. You have Dragon Roar from Dragon Fighter, and you have Star Blessing from Priest. Priest is very wide ranging, so you have to wait for them to use Star Blessing to use her, which really hurts her credibility. Then with water, the only A tier I have right here is Ikoria, due to her You Cannot Die effect. And for Earth, we have Primrose, stun, defense down, defense received down. Even though her stun isn't super reliable, they can play around it to dodge, but you're still forcing a dodge, or you can set it up with something like a Soul Blast or something to force them into it. B tier, We have Laurel and Licorice. Laurel, one of the highest damages for a Holy Fairy, but it needs a setup. And a very similar thing to Licorice, she stuns and does pretty high damage, definitely lower than Laurel, but also requires a setup. Both of these require setups. Setup fairies we've seen so far, Milim, Sakura, Mistletoe, and Butterfly Orchid. These are all setup fairies that would team well with one of these two fairies. Fire, Rose, and Diablo 1A, 1B. Rose is more AoE and silence, and Diablo is more single target and higher damage. Wind, we have Camellia, which has the knockup, which is a setup fairy to go with something like Tranquil Bloomflower. Regular Bloomflower is a pull-in and defense down, also another setup wind fairy that pairs well with any of the three up here. Water, we have Lavender. Water's just really stuck for good fairies at this price point in the B tier. In group PvP, you can sleep someone and walk away. In single target, you can sleep them, wait for some cooldowns, and then burst them with that bonus damage you get during his sleep. Then Daisy, in group PvP specifically, her reflect slime damage is pretty high. Down here in the C tier, the C and D are ones I really don't suggest touching in PvP. We have Gypsophilia, specifically in something like either Guild War or Crystal Battlefield. If you're staying in one spot, she can do okay, enough to be a B tier, but she requires a fight like that to really do anything. Rimuru steals their buffs and gives you buffs, but the buffs he strips are few and far between. Ixoria gives you a big burst of attack, but the HP that they take is very, very high. It'll end up killing you more than anything else. Hyacinth gives you some cooldown, but nowhere near good enough, especially now that Tranquil Bloomflower is out. Then we have Lotus and Hydro, and really they're 1A, 1B. One does a silence, one does a stun. Both very, very good enough to be in the C tier. Hydra also gives a defense buff, which is okay. Then C tier we have Carnation for Earth, and it does get better now that the Earth Echo is being buffed to be more pierce rate, more damage over time, but not enough to make her in the B tier in my opinion. Down here at the D we have Twin Lotus. Its main thing is bonus damage to PvE. Definitely not going to do anything in PvP. Then we have Chestnut Rose. Her thing is to increase bonus damage to things weak to fire, which doesn't affect PvP. Dandelion, very similar to Gypsophilia, but doesn't have all the bonus effects that come from Starlight. That's why it's down here in D. Windy, main thing is PvE down here. Water, we have Viola. Does have an okay knockup, but is a very slow knockup, and you can literally walk out of it. Then we have Candok, small heal, not worth it. Marigold does a slow, which is okay in PvP, but it doesn't track very well. You can walk to the side and it won't hit, as well as it increases damage to things weak to earth, which we don't have in PvP. I'm going to run through PvE a bit quicker now that I've talked about what these fairies do during PvP. Refer back to those, but I'm going to go a lot quicker during PvE. Twin Lotus, Gypsophilia, very solid in PvE. Then we have Winter Cherry and Chestnut Rose. Give them fire weakness, do more to fire weakness. Then Natsu, also very, very good in PvE. If you're doing something like Elemental Realm or something where you're trying to get a specific super high rank, he could be down in A tier just because his ability is a bit slow, but the damage he puts is enough to be an S in my opinion. Wind, we have Tranquil Bloomflower, high damage in PvE, as well as the cooldown reduction allowing you to get your combos going. Over here we have Blue Rose. Her main thing is going to be bonus damage in PvE. Bonus damage when you're at high HP, which is going to happen in PvE. Gardenia, you're not going to get much out of the healing, but it does have enough damage to be in the S tier for water. Tulip Gamble is a lot better in PvE. Crit bonus from Foxglove allows Earth to hit these higher numbers needed to crit in PvE. Down in the A tier, we have Milim that does give your other fairies bonus damage in PvE, as well as if you have her high enough star rank, she will give you 10% attack boost. Urza, skill was buffed, more damage. Also, the class damage still works in PvE. Then we have Hydra Flames and Anathria. Hydra Flames, the dodge doesn't matter in PvE, but the amount of damage is enough to put her in the A tier. Anathria, very good in big HP PvE, such as Guild Boss and stuff, where you get several times to use that 80% bonus damage. Very, very good. Hyacinth giving you that cooldown, allowing you to get certain combos with things like Cannon, Dragon Fighter, or even Ninja. You wouldn't normally be able to hit these rotation numbers. Hyacinth and Tranquil Bloomflower allow you to hit these certain rotations. Then we have Bloomflower. She's literally made for the Elemental Realm. Pull them in, defense down, everything you want in that PvE. Ikoria, enough damage to be up here in the A tier, and the boost. A tier for Earth, we have Carnation and Marigold. Bonus damage to Earth weakness and just a lot of AoE PvE damage. Down here in the B tier, Laurel does good damage, but not enough to make him above these. Sakura, the stun isn't going to matter much in PvE, but that damage and defense down is pretty good. Hibiscus, AoE damage is enough to put her here. Then we have Ixoria. You can even argue that Ixoria, if you're doing a bunch of team dancing, team swapping, can be in the A tier, but just on a team where you're doing 1 or 2 teams of fairies, then Ixoria is down here in the B tier. Still high damage. Diablo above Rose because he's more single target, and a lot of PvE is single target. And then we have with Wind, the only one here is going to be Almond Blossom. It can ignore some PvE stuns or whatnot, but its damage is enough to be here in the B tier. Viola, water is just hard pressed to have better water fairies. And the icicle stacks it gets from basic is pretty good. Daisy, the reflex slime, is super, super powerful in PvE. Down here in C tier, we have Butterfly Orchid. Have her under Hibiscus because the damage output is less, and that can't move isn't as important as the heal in PvE. Licorice, down here in the C tier, don't have to say much about it. Dahlia doesn't really work in PvE with the healing and stuff that she's kind of centered around. Wendy, even though she's made to be a PvE wind fairy, if you're ideally bringing wind against things that are already weak to wind, and with Wendy not having a bonus to things weak to wind, or when she gives something weakness, not giving the 30% bonus that we see from everything else, Marigold and Winter Cherry. Down here in the C tier, Dandelion doesn't even really work well in her own elemental realm, because it does a straight beam in the same spot, but in that elemental realm, you have tons of enemies all over. Lavender, the sleep doesn't matter, but you can make use of the bonus damage with the next couple hits. Lotus and Hydra, same, 1A, 1B. The stun and silence don't really matter. They're here for the AoE damage. Same with Primrose. Down here in the D tier, Mistletoe's not really doing much. Rimmeru's not really doing much. Camellia, you can argue, does enough damage to be in the C tier, but the fact that their knockup doesn't do anything at all, and the AoE isn't big enough to really matter even in their own elemental realm, has it in the D tier. Eldawise, single target isn't big for wind PvE, and Candog is just Candog. Let me know what you guys think down below. Till next time, guys.